Welcome back to part 23 of the OC story. We are slowly coming to a close. I say this, I'll still be saying it in 5 to 10 episodes' time. We shall see! So, you guys voted last time for Tinny to, yes, decide she does want to go with Darrow and Eri. So, let's pick up and carry on from the next morning. Tinny has come in to visit them in Erasmus's old prince bedroom, and she has brought some food for them. She's already had breakfast, and she has sneaked them a pile of pastries. Erasmus is very excited to taste these pastries again. They haven't been able to afford them themselves, of course, and he only managed to have a few bites while they were at the royal coronation. He doesn't miss any of his old life at all, but he really does miss being able to create things. And he mentions once again that he really wants to learn how to bake properly. Maybe one day he could work in a bakery. He starts to really think then about ideas and thoughts for the future, rather than just this desperate desire to get out, to make sure Darrow is safe, to make sure Tinny is safe. Darrow starts to think about it too. As they eat, Tinny explains to the pair that while Choly was walking her back to her room that night, she got him to tell her some more information. He said that he didn't know very much, but Tinny says she is being sent to Belgoth sometime in the next few weeks. That was as much as Choly knew. With the country in good spirits because of the coronation, it's a good time to do it. They'll encourage it, another union that they can celebrate, something to join the two countries. But the details are hazy. Only the new king and her father know, and presumably some of the people in Belgoth and a handful of guards who will escort her. Even her mother is not allowed to know the actual date. No one will tell her. They are keeping things very secret after the assassination of the king. Darrow takes Eri pleasantly by surprise again by being the one to bring up their offer to take Tinny away with them. He tells her, "So, me and Eri gotta go. Soon. Today. We're in danger, both of us now. Maximus ain't gonna stop looking for me, and now he'll probably know I'm not working by myself. And if anyone catches Eri and gets a proper look at him, it won't take too long till they work out who he is, and then fuck knows what could happen. So, we gotta leave. Soon. Tonight. How long do you reckon we got?" Well, Erasmus thinks, they like to leave the prisoners waiting until after dinner. So they'll feed the royal family, the servants will feed themselves, then they feed the prisoners. So, at the latest, the first the prisoners will be discovered as missing would be, well, after dinner tonight. So, that would be as long as we have. Right, so we gotta go soon then. Like, now. Tinny. Darrow swallows. We want to take you with us. If you want to come. We really, really think you should, though. Both of us. We promise we'll look after you, we'll take care of you, we'll just get you far away. We'll make sure everything's alright. But, I'm sorry, we gotta go now. So, you gotta decide today. Soon. Like, now. Tinny thinks about it. She's not stupid. In fact, she's very clever. Darrow and Eri decided without telling one another that they didn't want to frighten her, so neither of them mentioned their fears for her life. And again, Eri loves that Darrow knew to do this without them ever speaking about it. But Tinny is clever, and she asks, slowly, "Something bad will happen if I go to Belgoth, won't it?" The two of them glance at each other and then nod, without going into any specifics. Tinny swallows too, and then asks, "All right, I'll go with you. I want to, and thank you. But I can't leave right now. They'd notice. I'll have to do it at the right moment, and I'd like to see my whole family again, just one time before I go. I've got lessons all day. If I miss anything, they'll know that I'm gone, and Mother won't get out of bed for a long time, and my brother has lessons too, and my father is doing whatever it is he does all day. Can we go just after dinner? I know it's cutting it fine, but it's the only time we all sit down together. Mother always comes out of her room to eat. My little brother will be there. My father will be there too. I mean, everyone will be there, and then I can just say I'm tired and excuse myself before dessert and go to bed. And instead I'll go with you. Can we do that? Please? Uncle Eri? Darrow? Again, the two of them look to one another, but both know the answer. It's cutting it fine, but she knows it. They trust her, so they both agree. After dinner, they make their escape. Tinny smiles, and despite the horribleness of the situation, it's a bright smile, full of hope. She glances around, thinking, all right, well, I'd better go. They'll be expecting me for my piano lesson first, and then I've got so much else to do. I won't have time to go back to my rooms at all today. Could you pack for me? I don't need much, just there's a few things I really want. Can you make sure you get my ballet slippers? They're hidden at the bottom of the wardrobe. And there's a box. It's only small. It's under the floorboards, under my bed. Darrow immediately says, of course. Eri, you can show me the way, right? Yes, of course. I know where Tinny's bedroom is. Is there anything else you want? Maybe just some clothes. Nothing too much. Nothing too fancy, obviously. Maybe something warm for when it's cold. But no, there's nothing else I'd really, well, miss. Eri takes her hand then. It seems the two of them have very similar feelings about their palace lives. There was nothing in his room he wanted either. There was nothing he did miss. Well, with the plan in motion, they set off for their day. Tinny heads off for her lessons, and Eri and Darrow finish eating their pastries, and then sneak through the palace to her rooms after the maid's cleaning hour, which of course Erasmus knows. It was slow going, but it was steady. Erasmus knew his way around the palace blindfolded. Darrow knew how to stick to the shadows, and Eri could just about remember the movements of the maids, the servants, and the guards. There weren't too many inside the palace, they were mostly protecting people from getting in, and slowly and steadily they made their way to Princess Augustine's bedroom. The door creaked softly as they turned the handle and stepped inside. Thankfully, the curtains had been drawn, the maids had already finished making the bed, and everything was light and pristine. They would leave no trace of themselves having ever been there. There was no dust to step in, nothing to disturb. Everything looked perfect. As long as they put everything back roughly where it was supposed to be, everything would be fine. And Darrow was very good at that. He was the one who went diving under the bed to pull up the floorboards and get the box. It was small, maybe the size of a music box. He didn't open it, though, instead passing it out to Eri as he replaced the floorboards carefully and sat on his haunches to check that everything looked as it should do. This is brilliant, hiding stuff under the floorboards like you're all criminals in your own house. Never would have thought of it. Erasmus blushes a little. Hey, did you hide anything under your floorboards? Darrow asks. Maybe, as a younger man, as a teenager, especially. What do you hide? Nothing of importance. Really? Is it still there? We're not going to go looking for it. Oh, I'm certainly going to go looking for it. We've got hours to kill before dinner time. Erasmus sighs, resigning himself to the fact that the assassin is probably going to find absolutely everything he could possibly have hidden in his room as a teenager. He makes a mental note of several excuses he can use later. He busies himself getting the ballet slippers, which were hidden right at the bottom of the wardrobe. They're wrapped in a piece of delicate fabric, and with them he finds the note that Tinny had talked about. It's written in scrawled, swirly writing. It doesn't look particularly pristine or polished, but it was filled with love. It simply said, "For those who wander and those who dream." He tucked them carefully under his arm as he looked around for more things they should bring. Altogether, they only spent about 10 minutes in Tinny's bedroom. They didn't want to linger longer, partly because it felt sort of like an invasion of privacy, despite being invited there, but also because it really was dangerous. They found a bag, they found a winter coat that wasn't too royal looking, they found a bunch of, as Darrow called them, hair thingamy-whatsits, as he picked them up from the dressing table, and they added a few more bits and pieces, some simpler clothes here and there, and another pair of shoes, packing them carefully into the bag, and then tiptoeing all the way back to Erasmus's bedroom. Once they got there and locked the door, listening carefully for any sounds of movement, but there really wasn't on this side of the palace, Eri flopped down onto his bed, thinking. Darrow, however, set down the bag they had got for Tinny and begins eyeing the prince's bedroom. This is the first time he's been fully and truly conscious to stand up in it. He's still in a bit of pain, but he's fine, really. He's felt a lot worse. And he's watching every piece of the room behind those bright, bright eyes, scrutinizing in that way that only a criminal and an assassin could. Where could Eri have hidden things? Erasmus sits up on his elbows watching the assassin and knows immediately what's going on. Darrow, just... can we accept the fact that I hid a few things here and there, and you do not need to... Aha! Erasmus watches in dawning horror as the assassin pounces on a floorboard that he has spotted is just slightly lower than the ones either side of it. He tugs and pulls, and eventually the thing comes up, and from inside he pulls out a stack of papers. He begins rifling through them. Damn, Eri, how old were you when you hid all this lot? I would prefer not to say. Gosh, some of these are pornographic. I was young, and this one's got a date on it. Wasn't that young, were you? It's only a few years ago. Darrow, could we not? But Eri is smiling, trying hard not to look at the assassin, who has gone a little pink himself around the edges. Did you draw these? Are they people you knew? Are they people from books? Are they... some of them were people I knew, yes. Some of them were characters I read about in stories. Some of them you might have seen. They were statues in the long gallery. We came through. I suppose you were a little out of consciousness then. Oh, what? I missed all the naked statues. Drat. They both laugh then, and it's an easy laugh as Darrow flicks through the last of the pieces of paper. The sketchings are all fairly simple, scratched quickly with pencils and charcoal. So you drew all of them, then? Yes, for a while I considered myself quite the artist, although to be honest it was mostly just trying to get things out of my head. Did it work? Sometimes. I suppose sometimes just being able to get it out there into the world, even just on paper, it means your mind can settle a little. Yeah, I know how that must feel. Sometimes I feel like my head's so full it'll friggin' explode. Darrow? Yeah? Do you mind? Mind what? That you used to draw pretty boys? Yes? No, why would I? Oh. Do you want me to mind? No, of course not. I suppose I was so used to hiding it. Well, you don't need to hide nothing from me. Ever. I know that. Wow, what a strangely liberating feeling. Well, glad I could liberate you. So, do you want to keep any of these, or...? No, put them back, Darrow. I haven't looked at them for years. Well, I reckon they're pretty good. Better than stuff I could do anyways. I can draw you a good sword, though. Got quite good at that. Trying to draw what I wanted, show it to people. No one could ever do it, though. I always had this idea in my head. Like you said, like this image of what I want, but you can never really make it happen. And you describe it and describe it and describe it, and still no one could do it. I mean, don't get me wrong, the blades I got are cracking, do a fine good job, but I don't know, I just can't shake this feeling that there's a better way. Like, I want it to be curved but ridged, and I can't explain it, and I try to draw it and it just don't work. As he spoke, Darrow replaced all the piles of parchment under the floorboard and replaced it. As he stood up, surveying the room again, he continued, It's just frustrating, I guess, when you know what it is you're trying to say, what you're trying to think, and no one can get it, you know? Yes, I know. Erasmus is sitting up now, watching the assassin properly. Darrow, if you have a weapon in your mind that no one else has made, why not forge it yourself? Darrow considered that idea. He even paused his visual search for more hidden places. He had never considered that idea before. Did he really think so little of himself? Erasmus was staring at him in this encouraging way, and suddenly the assassin had the idea of what their future could be. He could learn how to make weapons. He could do that. He knew exactly what you wanted in a weapon. He could make brilliant ones if only he could work out how, and that would just take time and practice and skill, and he could do that. Erasmus could learn how to bake and cook and further all the things he wanted to learn. And suddenly, a sense of purpose came to him, an idea. He could do that. He could get odd jobs here and there as well, but forging weapons, making them better, knowing what would make them better and making it happen, giving it to other people, selling them on, getting paid to do something so beautiful. The idea stuck. It struck a chord within him that refused to come undone, and Darrow started grinning. You're a genius. You're fucking beautiful. I could make weapons. Yes, of course you could. Darrow, you could do anything. Yeah, I will. Erasmus smiled too. Come sit with me? Oh, no. No. You're not getting out of it that easily. I know you've got at least one more hiding spot. And I reckon... Darrow crossed the floorboards again, listening to them, tapping each with his toe. Maybe it's not a floorboard. Maybe... He glanced back to Erasmus, who unwittingly was giving the whole thing away on his face. Maybe it's somewhere closer to the bed, and you wouldn't want to reach out and have to put a floorboard back in a hurry if someone was coming in, so higher up, somewhere you could reach. Aha! The wall. Right there. Darrow points, and Erasmus at once smacks his palm onto his forehead. How did you know that? Just by looking. I'm a criminal, baby. That's what I do. So, can I have a look? Oh, go on then. All right, but remember, you told me to. Darrow peeled away at a careful patch of wallpaper, revealing a small hidden indent in the wall. He slipped his fingers inside and pulled out a small, very well dog-eared book. It sat no bigger than his hand as he flicked open the pages. It didn't have a title. It didn't have an author. It just had text and a few raunchy images. Damn, Eri, the prince reading secret smut? Please, Darrow, put it back. Oh no, we're taking this with us. Darrow. Nah, come on, bedtime reading. This is brilliant. Whoa. The stable boy. Darrow, please, lay back in the hay. And suddenly, there in the moonlight, I knew he was everything I could. All right, Darrow, that is enough. Please, please stop. Erasmus was burning red, right across his cheeks, up across onto his ears. It even looked somehow as if the flaming red of his hair was coming through the dark dye. Darrow put the wallpaper back, but pocketed the little book. He grinned at Erasmus as he sat down on the bed beside him. Hey, beautiful. Don't be embarrassed. It's cute. I'm just sorry you had to hide it all. I like it though. It's a part of you. The assassin looked around the bedroom again then, and this time he wasn't looking for hiding places. He was just taking it all in. The huge mirror, the vast windows, the drapes, everything rich and sumptuous and so very cold in its way. Erasmus looked too, and his eyes were sad. Darrow noticed, because of course he did. He noticed without even looking at the prince. He entwined their fingers together as they sat looking around the room, and eventually he said, "It don't suit you." "It never did," Erasmus agrees, and he hugs into Darrow gently from behind. Darrow, keeping their fingers locked, hugs into Eri too, and then he asked, just to clarify, just to make sure it was said out loud more than really needing to know the answer, "Eri, you're all right that we're going to be broke as shit for a while, right? Like poorer than poor, dirt poor." Erasmus says, "I am." For this, for you, for us, I really am alright with that. I'm going to skip over some things now and give them some privacy, partly because, well, they deserve it, and partly because YouTube would not approve of some of the things that they would get up to in those moments by themselves. I will tell you, though, that I will be including all of it in its most graphic detail in the book when I write this all down. So if you would like to hear what they get up to and just everything else in a bit more detail, that will be in the novel version of this that I am writing and will hopefully turn into some sort of audiobook and read to you as well. All right, skipping past that. As the afternoon wore on, Erasmus decided that he simply must tell Darrow the thing he had been putting off for so long. If nothing else, the man deserved to know, and also he couldn't bear the weight of it anymore. So, as they lay tangled together in Erasmus's old bed, he raised his palm and looked again at that fractured lifeline the fortune teller had pointed to. And then he tells him. He tells Darrow all about following him to the bottom of the lake, everything he had seen, the tomb, and how he'd known somehow that it was his. How Darrow wasn't there, how he called out, screamed out for him, and how the swirling mist had answered him. How it had asked what he'd be willing to give up, and how it had asked of him only one thing, and how he had agreed, wholeheartedly, desperately, to give up his peaceful death. Darrow had been stroking gentle fingers through Eri's hair while he had told him all of this, and his fingers stilled just a little as Eri finished his tale. They both looked at the line, the fractured lifeline on Erasmus's hand. Had it somehow got darker, or were they both just imagining it now? They were paying it more attention. Darrow is skeptical, but Erasmus is so worried, so earnest, and so hurt that he believes that Eri believes it. He wraps his arms around the prince and holds him tight and close, and he doesn't ask any more about it. Slowly, the sky grows dark, and Eri is glad that he has finally told Darrow, and Darrow is glad to have heard it. As evening starts to fall, they've packed up for Tinny, they've got a bag for her, and they decide to get a bag for themselves as well. They do take some of Erasmus's old jewellery and clothing to sell, if nothing else. They get 2 warm coats, some old cloaks, and they take some of his more basic clothes, things that they can turn inside out or pair with other things to look fairly simple. Darrow, of course, has been existing in Erasmus's pyjamas all this time, and Erasmus was only wearing the fancy clothes that they wore to the ball. They don't know if they should risk going back to the tavern to get their things. They decide they probably shouldn't. Thankfully, Darrow's blades had been in the room where he had been imprisoned. Some of them were used to torment him. Eri and Tinny had picked those up and brought them with him when they saved him. So Darrow has those, at least. Clothing he was never really attached to, so he doesn't mind wearing new ones. Kitted out to look as ordinary and blending into the background as possible, they make their way down as evening falls to wait for Tinny by the secret entrance out of the castle near the kitchens. As they go, they pass the dining room, and they hear voices. They decide to step back just a little so they can see in but not be seen themselves, to watch Tinny and listen to what's going on. The dining hall is vast, long, with a high ceiling and a fancy chandelier. As they peer in, watching everyone, they spot Tinny. She's sitting beside her mother, whose hand she is holding. She's playing with her little brother, and her father is talking to the now king. Eri points each of them out quietly and tells Darrow who they are. And that is Rebecca, my father's mistress. Well, now his second wife, well, widow. And that is her father next to her, Duke Nis. Utter pompous, self-righteous tosser, that one. Darrow snickers. His wife is not much better. That's her beside him. Then they see Choly and 2 other performers entering as the plates are cleared, getting ready for a second course. Darrow's eyes narrow as he peers over the royal family. So, that's the king, huh? He points to the oldest brother. Yes, the spitting image of our father. Saisen, too. Eri sighs, motioning to his brother sat at the king's side. I am glad I avoided being married off. What if I'd grown to be like them? Ignoring my children and just disappearing into our father's shadow. What life is that? I never realized I was not the only one unhappy here. He looks back to Tinny. Darrow squeezes his hand. We're getting her out. Tinny's going to be so happy. And so are you. I swear. I'll give anything to make it happen. Anything. He didn't think about the word he used. It was just so easy, so natural. But anything. That word echoes in Eri's memory, fresh from telling Darrow all about it. He blinks it away, though, and they watch as Tinny watches as the performance starts. The performance starts just like any other may have done. Choly totters in his jester garb. The 2 others around him start juggling things, taking apples and different pieces, cups and saucers from the table and juggling those, passing them back and forward between them. Choly ducks under them, making a big spectacle of nearly dropping things, nearly tripping over, nearly having things land on his head. The others juggle around him, and his tomfoolery and silliness acts around them. They move in perfect sync, and while he does a good job of making it look as though he's being narrowly missed by every flying item, it's so well choreographed that he's never in any real danger. However, he takes a sip from a goblet that he takes off one of the tables before draining it and tossing that into the mixture as well. The others continue to spin things round and around, tossing them back and forth, juggling here and there. And then Choly takes another goblet, and another. He takes one from the king. This gets a few looks here and there. He drains it, chucks it in. The others start juggling faster and faster. Then he takes one from Saisen, Tinny's father. He drains that, staring down at the man. And the man tries to take the goblet back. But Choly takes it and chucks it in with the others, and it gets juggled and swirled above his head. He bounds backwards, arms waving wide, and he's louder now, and he gets louder as the performance carries on. He's joking, he's jovial, he's making all the usual jokes. But the smile he wears is in makeup alone, and there's something frantic in his eyes. His cheeks glow just a little pink the more he drinks, and he starts making jabs instead of jokes. He jokes about the new king. He jokes about Saisen, the new oldest prince. Slowly, the juggling around him stops, and the other 2 performers slink backwards towards the edge of the room, as though they don't want to be a part of this. Choly the jester gestures around, he dances, he leans against the tables. Some people are still laughing at his act, but then he makes a joke that leaves the room silent. He makes a joke about the assassination. There's a pause. And then the others at the table try to laugh it off, but the new king rises. He shouts that is treason talk, and a night or 2 in the dungeon will teach the jester his place. He gestures and 2 guards come in to escort Choly away. Rebecca's father cheers. It looks as though he too has been drinking quite a lot this evening, and his wife tugs on his elbow. Sit down, Ferdinand! Then Eri and Darrow look at each other with wide eyes. Duke Ferdinand Nis. Could this be Fernis? Had they finally found out who had ordered the hit on the old king and the 3 princes? We will find out next time. And now, as always, there is a vote for you guys in the comments section, and it is this. Would you like to see Choly the Jester before Tinny, Darrow, and Erasmus leave the palace forever? Do you want to go and see him Do you want to have a chat with him? Do you want to just see what the guards do? Or do you think it's better to run and get out? I will let you guys decide in the comments down below. Alright, thanks for watching. My voice is slowly getting better. As you can tell, I attempted to do way more voices today. Thanks for engaging with this series, and yeah, it'll be finished soon-ish. Alright, bye-bye.